Back. Apologies for the earlier stream. I just interrupted it because it failed at the audio part. So let's let me start all over. Can you guys let me know if you can hear me? At least that way I know that I have it working on my end. All right, perfect. Sorry about that, Junior. Okay, so what I'll do, let's just start over because this was kind of a failure to from the start. All right, so I'll just delete this. It's easy to create. All right, delete selected assets. So first things first, we want to create the particle. So let's go ahead and do that. So there we go. We have a new particle, and what we need to do is we need to save this because apparently the level does not save the particle. So if I was to just save the level and exit, you wouldn't find this this new particle that I've created. So I'm gonna go ahead and save this effect. I don't know why it's called effect and not a particle effect, but that's beside the point. So let's go into particles test, and we'll call it. We'll save it here. So let's call this particle stream and save. Okay, so now we have it. There we go. We have it right there. So now the next time you open the level, you should be able to find it in the particle editor. Okay, let's drag this into the level and see all the excitement behind it, which is just a sprite. So as I did before in the silent version of this video, let's I was talking about the aspect ratio, which basically if you change this to a 0.1, you'll see that the width of the particle is basically just, in this case, a tenth of the height of it. So let's see, if I was to do a 2, as you can see, the width is twice the height. So it's just a fraction between, or you can think of it as multiply the width by the height. So so let's keep this at 1. And let's look into the spawn rate. This time it's set to 1, but maybe we want to set it to 5, so that way we can try and mimic what I had in that video with the lights that were going around in a square. Alright, so we have the spawn rate. Let's look at lifetime. So just like it is probably the most straightforward node, this one, and there's another one that you can add comments to this. And the lifetime for this, let's set it to 5 seconds. Also, we can name this component since we're here, and let's call it particle so we know what it is. Maybe if you have multiple of these, like, because you can parent these items. So in my case with the lights, I had 4 items where each one was the parent of the next item. So on the death of the parent, then the child will continue on in a different direction. So that's what was going on there. Alright, so let's call this particle stream. Okay, so now that we have that named, let's look into the size. So again, this is also straightforward. This is just the size of this, in our case, sprite. So let's call this 0.1. And there we go. It's a tenth of the size. And now physics. So this is where things get interesting. the gravity scale. So this one is based off of if you go with a positive number. So let's try doing that and put this at 0.5. So the particles are gonna just follow the regular gravity rules and fall down. Now if you go with a negative value, negative 0.5, they'll just fly up. There you go. So in my case, where I had the lights, I was not using the gravity scale. So I had this at 0. But what I was using, and you could see that the particles were kind of slightly accelerating, was this uniform acceleration. So you have x, y, z axes. So let's do it in the y-axis first. So let's do maybe a 0.5. And we can probably go a little higher than that. Let's do maybe a 2. So there we go. So now we have these sprites going into the y-axis using this acceleration parameter. But one thing that I noticed after I did that video was that that acceleration looked a little, even though it looked kind of fun, it was a little bit weird, so to speak. So in order to remove the weirdness out of it, let's add a feature, and in this case it will be a velocity. So we want to add a velocity that's going to be directional. Oh, come on. Add feature, velocity, directional. So postpone for now. So this directional velocity, we want to set it also in the y direction. So this is going to be constant. So let's put this at 2 and close our motion physics. So let's see what's going on here. Actually, my apologies, you need the motion physics on. And let's do this at 0. So right now these are shooting off into the unknown at a constant velocity. So that's a little too high. Let's bring that down a little bit. Let's put this at maybe, actually the scale was huge. There we go. So now as you can see, there's no, if you have this uniform velocity, there's no, there's no acceleration. So you see them all going constantly this way. So since this little black little rectangle is just kind of boring, let's change that up. So let's make it glow a little bit. So we want to add into appearance, you'll have lighting. So when you use this, you can have an emissive value. So maybe let's set that to 20. And also you want the backlight, because what I've noticed is at certain angles, and probably this is not the best example, these will be dark. So let's also set the backlight to 20. Alright, you don't want to do receive shadows unless you really want to, because shadows equals drop in performance, and that drop is probably going to be substantial when you have a ton of these particles. Okay, but I also had lights in my thing, so let's add some lights. And again, we go to add feature, and oh, come on, add feature light, and we add a light. So now if you look at it, you can tell that it's lighting the surface. And let's do the spawn rate a little lower. So maybe do a 2 per second. So you can see the lights a little better. And for some reason I've frozen that particle effect. Okay. So now we have one of these items, and it's just, it's spawning, which is fine. And of course you can turn off the sprites if you don't want anything there. So that's up to you. And maybe we can make this all smaller so we have these little things that cast light. Alright, and so as you can see, it's going off there and it's dying after 5 seconds. What I had for my particle effect was I had another one of these. So you can do a Control C and then a Control V and you'll copy this. But what this was doing, it was actually spawning going this way. So in our case, that will be in the x-axis. So if we bring this back up, when you remember when we added the velocity, it was directional. So this was y, so going this way in the positive. So let's change this to 0 and make this go -2. So right now, since these are spawning from the origin of the particle effect, they will excuse me, they it will keep on spawning this way. And of course, you can do a bunch of variety with this. For example, if I was to copy this one and maybe for the directional I set it to -2 and 2, you'll see that there's kind of like a a little bit of an arrow, if you care for something like that in your game, pointing to somewhere. And of course, since these are all the same lifetime, maybe you want this the not the tip, not the sides of the arrow, but I don't know, the body, whatever you want to call it. Maybe have this to have a little bit of a longer lifetime, to have this line a little longer. So kind of just actually making it into an arrow. But that's aside the point. So let's go ahead. I'll just remove this for now. But this particle stream, we want it to start when this one ends. So in order to do that, when you right click, and hopefully the stream is still working for you guys. It seems to be freezing up on me here on my previous screen. Hopefully it didn't freeze up completely. Okay, so apparently it's still working. You guys let me know if it freezes up at any time. Hi, hey Mafia. Hey, no worries. Welcome back for you and me, I guess. Okay, so as I was saying, we want this particle going to the side to start happening when this one ends. So in order to do that, let's do add a feature, and this is going to be the second gen, and we want to add on death. So when this one dies, we want this one to start spanning. So let's see if this works. Alright, so apparently not so well. Doesn't seem to like it very much. And I don't get why. Because this was the exact same thing I did for that other level. This is very weird. Let me save this real quick. So again, just remember to save your particle, and let me try and open that the particle test that I have. Let's see what was different there. Let's close out of that and start up the particle testing. No, okay. So, Mafia, I've actually been, aside from being annoyed by Cryengine not properly shutting down like it's supposed to, I've actually started looking into coding. So hopefully I'll be able to do some coding streams here shortly. So why would it create so many processes? I don't get it. I mean, I know it's still buggy, but I don't know why it does that. Let me see if there's anything sandbox related. Yeah, there you go. So sandbox didn't even close properly. So yeah, I mean they're hard at work on this, you know. So re-engineering quite a bunch of it, and you know it's gonna take a while. But yeah, so as I was saying, hopefully I can do some some coding in some of these strings and actually, you know, do things which I think might be pretty cool. Alright, so let's see, what's the difference here? So there's one of them, there's this particle test. Okay, so so here's the setup for that thing going in a circle, and if we do just like before and we set this to 0 and 0, so we want to try to get it where we have a constant velocity. So let's do velocity directional, and we'll set it to 5. So there we go, there's our directional velocity, and we might want to set it a little higher. It's going a little slow. There we go. Maybe a little too fast now, but that's fine. Alright, so when this one dies, as you can see, it's supposed to go into the second one, and this one, if we add a feature, which is going to be again velocity and directional, and this one we want to make it go this way. So at first we had to go in the x-axis and in the y-axis, so now we want to make it go into the x-axis on negative. So let's do that. So we'll call this a negative 10. So as you can see, this one works, and this guy seems to be following along just right, but we need to remove its acceleration. So let's put this back to 0 and add a velocity, and we want to make it go this way now. So negative on y. Yeah, Mafia, that'd be really nice if you could do that, but it's probably under some kind of locking key somewhere, and so I highly doubt that would be possible. All right, so apparently let's do this one as let's do 15 for all of these. So 15, negative 15. Hey, Lore. Yeah, I mean, I've posted on the Facebooks whenever I do a stream. I haven't done as many, well, not as many, but as long of streams lately because I was just doing a bunch of modeling, and that's easy to learn. It's not anything too exciting. I've been doing modeling every now and again, sometime at night, and where I'm thinking, okay, this 3D model would be cool to show, but other than that, it's I'm trying to do streams that are on more varied subjects, like in this case, the particles. So what I was doing here was changing these to 15. Okay, and then the last one is going to be also 15. So set this to 0. Yeah, so I was thinking that it might be better to especially with the new engine and Mafia. I think for what we need, we will never reach the level unless you're Cloud Imperium and have some dozens of employees working for you. Uh, yeah, you're not gonna. I mean, Cryengine 5 is the way to go. They're still on an older version, which they tweaked to their needs, which is great. But I mean, I would stick to what Crytek is putting out, and you know, it works for me. Oh, so this is gonna be 15. My bad. All right, so there we go. This was what I did last week with these particles, and so I wanted to test and see if I do render sprites, why won't the other one work properly? So it does render sprites just fine, and if we were to add that appearance with lighting feature and give it an emissive 50 maybe, which is probably going to be a little much, but it still works just fine. So cool thing about these components, not components, but features, because these are the components and inside of them go features. So you can hopefully copy and paste this. So there we go. It's pretty cool to have like an effect and just start pasting it across, which apparently you need to probably do it a second time. Yeah, you have to do it in the title. So it's that easy to copy and paste one of these features and bring it into here. So I'll close out of this and go back into the into my other project and see what's happening there. Why that thing wasn't working properly. Um, I'll I'll try and have a look at it, see what's going on. Because it's very weird why the same setup works there but not here. Hmm. Yeah, go figure. Let's try doing this. This is another cool thing about it, is that whenever you pull one of these connection to a different node little thing, I don't really know what you might call it, you get an option to add something to it. So let's add a default sprites. Yeah, and it's not even generating that on death. Hmm. Yeah, it's kind of weird why it wouldn't do that properly. Oh yeah, well I mean that was just I think that was something that was um it might have been something in a Lua script that I did at that time, but Lua is going away, so that's why I'm saying you know, looking for something like what Star Citizen has for Cryengine. I mean, probably not the best use, you know. Um, and you know, they have their engineers. Crytek has their engineers, and um, you know, I mean, it's the only solution right now that it's fully free out there. So it's, and I think there's quite a lot of quite a lot of documentation that's gonna come out, as far as I understand, when 5.3 is coming out in November. So that's that's a huge thing, I think. But okay, so I'm kind of wondering why this is happening. Let's um, let's try this real quick. Let's try creating a new particle, since you know, this one was, you know, all fun and nice, but it's not really doing what's supposed to be doing. So let's create this one here. We'll call it also, you know, you need to save it before being able to drag it in. So let's call this particle stream 2. Save. So we have our sprites. We'll just keep it simple. Let's set the lifetime to, again, to 5 seconds. Um, let's do maybe 2 per second, and we'll keep it simple. Just do an acceleration of 1. All right, and save. Let's bring it. Actually, this one. Let's bring this in, and it's a little big, so let's do the field size at 0.1. Yeah, so see, this is what I was telling you about that backlight. It's kind of, see, that's what I meant. Alright, so let's copy this, and let's see if we can do that on death thing. Add feature on death, and we want to start this one. So yeah, this is definitely weird. Oh, I think I know what's going on. Let me try something here. There we go. So for some reason, whenever you do uh, sorry about that. Whenever you do this on that thing, apparently you need this count. So if we were to go back to our, I'll delete this real quick. If we were to go back to the one that we just created with the lights, which was a little nicer. Um, let's go into it here, and when you see these little icons, you can hide these components, individually. Hey, Dandy. You know what? I'm hoping to be able to do those kind of prizes at some point, but you get the prize of being the 100 subscriber, I guess. um, Sorry, I wish I had the money to do all the things that I want to do with things, but yeah, until that happens, I'm just gonna be relying on you guys. So yeah, congratulations. Yeah, and thank you for that. Hopefully some of the videos on there you'll find useful. Alright, so back into this. Let's go ahead and add that spawn count feature. Oh well, I mean, at least help suggestions. That's what I can provide. Okay, so I'll delete that because I actually just need one identical to this. So let's do on death and start. And for these guys, for the children, that's for the children. I'm gonna add a count, and then as you can see, it's already happening, right? Um, this one dies somewhere around here. Well, Trump, on the other hand, that's one good way to put it. All right, so as you can see, this count actually makes things happen. So let's set the direction of the velocity to go. Where do we want to go? We want to go on the negative axis. So I'll set this back to 0, and this one is going to be a -2. So there we go. It's kind of just banging a left, and that is kind of interesting. Why would it go that way? I think maybe just maybe, do I have a uniform acceleration here? So this is actually pretty cool. You have an acceleration to go that way, right, in the y-axis, and then I also have the directional velocity, right? So if I turn this off, let's see, this should be going in the right direction there. There we go. So I think I might have that's actually pretty funny, Dandy. All right, so let's come full square, I guess, because it's not a circle. Yeah, let's come full square, and so let's see, what do we have here? We have 2, and that one has -2. This one has an acceleration, so we want to remove. Maybe you want to keep it. Let's just keep it. So we'll do a 0.6, and I think it might need to be a -0.6, because right now, as you can see, it's just slowing things down. So let's do a -0.6, so we'll accelerate on this axis as well. Yeah, so see, that little count thing was just throwing things off. Yeah, you can quote me on that, I guess. Alright, so now that we have these in place, let's do another particle stream here. And we'll bring this down to there and connect the two. So now we don't want this to keep going off into the distance like that, but we want it to go this way. So that way is going to be a negative y-axis. So in our directional velocity, change this to 0 and this to a -2. So one thing to come to mind, actually, that that I mentioned about the square thing, we can probably make this go in a circle. So after we do this, let's try that, and we'll probably end the stream with on that note. Because I pretty much covered some of the items that I wanted to show. Uh, the if you use the game SDK, there's quite a few examples in here that you can look into. Some of them are pretty cool, um, and you will get a better idea of how things are set up. Alright, so here we still have that weird kind of acceleration going that way. Uh, excuse me. Alright, so let's change the acceleration to go, what do we want to go? We want to go into -y, so let's change this to 0, and then this is going to be a -0.6. So there we go. It goes that away, and we need the last one. Probably going to be using this. So this one's here. What might happen is this one is going to go that away. There we go. So we just need to change this from a negative to a positive values. So +6 and then 2. So now we have the circle back again. Or, sorry, square. Okay, so let's try and see if we can use those accelerations to make this go in a well, hopefully in a circle. We'll see how the math works on that, because there's going to be a mix of this kind of doing a quarter of a circle, and then the next one doing a quarter of a circle, and so on. I'm thinking once you get good with it, you can make it just one component to do the full circle, but I'm not entirely sure. There's a couple of examples in the ones created by Crytek, and hopefully I think one of them might have that or something similar. I believe, if I do remember, it's something like this, but this one generates a ribbon. So if we were to do a sneak peek in here, and for some reason they're like so far spaced apart. So see, you have a that'd be nice. That'd be nice. Let's go for that. Yeah. So see, there's quite a few options left, and it's definitely it can definitely get complex. And see, this one has a bunch of these location offsets, which I'm having a little bit of a person. Yeah, thanks, Mafia. I'm having a little bit of a hard time understanding how they work. I mean, one of them is fine, but once you get into multiple location offsets, you have to experiment with them a little bit. So if we were to go back to our example here, let's create another. We'll actually do it in particle stream 2. So left click, select all the components, and I'll delete them. So let's go back into particle stream, copy a couple of these guys, so Control C, and then paste them into this thing here. We'll go ahead and save it. Let's drag it into the level. So you'll see that it's going to be doing the first 2 legs of the particle movement, I guess. Okay, so we actually wanted to have also an acceleration. So let's do this at 1 and see what happens. So So as you can see, this one is kind of twisting, well, not that one, sorry, but the original one should be twisting. And let's see. So we want this to set it to 0, and we want to go on the x-axis, or try to push it on the x-axis. So let's try doing that. So there it goes, kind of like that, which is actually, looking at it, it's kind of looking cool. So that's a little bit too much. Let's do a -1 because we want to curl it this way. So hey, that's pretty interesting. That's pretty interesting. All right, so then once this one dies, we want this to start coming this way. So it would have to be a -x, which it already has for the velocity, and then the physics, it will have to be a -y. So let's try doing this at 0 and this one a -1, and let's see what happens. Let me just move it to the side a little bit. Alright, so the reason for, as you could tell in that ribbon particle that I just had in the level, that offset is probably essential for having this go in a circle. So right now the acceleration is throwing things off, and it's kind of making it look as a more of a curve than a circle type setup. So in the end, even if we continue doing this, right? So right now we want to have the direction, the velocity, to go this way in the positive x-axis. So let's do a 2 for that, and then the let's see, then the acceleration will have to go this way. So I'm thinking it's probably a +1. Let's try that. So see, it's kind of doing it, but not the correct way. So I'm thinking maybe this should be -2. Probably not. Oh no, sorry. I'm actually wrong. It should be 1 here. So there we go. So it's kind of following some kind of a going around in a whatever you might call this circle-y type shape. I'm not sure if it's gonna end up where we want it to be. It'd be interesting to see where it ends up. Plus the fact that I haven't used, yeah, see, this is one of the issues. Yeah, once you start getting into all these connections, it's kind of getting to be a nightmare. So, all right, I'll call it quits. I'm not gonna waste time with this, monkeying around, fooling around with this. But one of the other, some of the other particles that I wanted to show you that I've played around with. So this is a pretty cool one because it has collisions. So check that out. That's actually one of the examples made by Crytek, and I was playing a little bit with it, and that is it. It's just one component that does that. And the thing about it is it has to be a GPU sprite apparently. I was not able to do this with a regular sprite. So if you go to right click and add feature under render, you have the option for GPU sprites. You can also do meshes, which I don't know if that's a good thing, but you know, maybe you have some rocks falling. Let's call it that. You can do ribbon and sprites. So we did the sprites one just now. This one has the GPU sprites, which is these little tiny particles. And as far as I can tell, let's see if we can make the particles a little, you know, give it a different size. Right now they're tiny. So there you go. And also, cool thing about it is, I believe. Let's give this a shot. I haven't experimented too much with these, what they call, I believe, effectors. And so let's remove this one. Oh, sorry. I did not mean to do that. Why did I do that? Let's add a random maybe. Well, I just broke it. Apparently undo does not work so well um, with these effectors things here. So I believe that one was a curve. Alright, so apparently we need a curve for this to happen. I don't know why. Let's do, they're a little big. So what I wanted to add was a random. I was hoping that we might be able to randomize the size of the particles, but I don't know if that's possible. Not by the way it seems. So I need to do a little bit of research into that. So I'll just remove this. So you can do the random for that, but you can do the random for the sprites, for example. So in our case, where we had our particle we just created, so let's bring that in. Oh yeah, indeed, I do believe. I'm a firm believer that things can happen. Alright, so let's look into this and see if we can tweak the size of it. So let's start with a kind of a bigger value. Let's do a 0.1 for that sprite. And this is just a sprite, it's not the light. The light has the same parameters that you used to, you know, has an intensity and a radius. So, you know, we can probably play with this one a little bit also. Let's do a intensity of 10 and a radius of 10. So there we go. And let's make it dark so we can see them a little better. Alright, so let's go back into our particle editor. Nobody's gonna like our next president, no matter who it is. No matter who it is. Okay. Let's look at this one because this is our first particle, this line here. So let's look at field size and see if we can add. Well, not yet. You know, you're probably 1 or 2, 3 maybe away from getting old. Alright, so let's add random. So in random, let's put a number of 2, and let's see if we get a little bit of a randomized size for our field. And maybe we need to do this a little bigger. So there we go. Now you can tell a little better that we have more of a random type pattern to. Let's do this maybe at 50. Hopefully, I'm not entirely sure how they calculate that. I was hoping it might be a value between 0 and 1. It is, but you know, the more attention you give it, the more they win. So yeah, I don't know why they set it to be, you know, so you can set, you know, values of 200, but all you need is just, you know, 0.5 or something between 0 and 1 apparently. That's what works for me. Okay, so this is the field size, and that would be the size of our sprite. Now let's look at the light. So apparently this one does not allow you to do, that would have been interesting if it would allow you to have a yeah, see, the light is not affected by that field size. It would have been nice if you'd be able to have a an option in here to um, you know, to randomly affect the intensity of radius of the light. But I mean, probably that's, you know, it might be more to consider there. All right, so let's remove this random. Remove, and we'll just leave it at that. Well, I think it was a 0.01 value. Okay, so there you go. That's one way to do, you know, random size for your particles. I'm not, like I said, I'm not entirely sure yet how it works when it comes to these GPU sprites. But let me show you some of the other particles that I've made. So one of them was, let's see, this was another one of them, which is a little different. I mean, not by much, but if we look into it, you will see that what it does, it still renders sprites, but it has an appearance of material. So in this case, the material is, if you go, so that's the size of the sprite. If you, in here, oops, I cancel out of that. So the field size is what the size of the sprite is going to be. So in my case, these specific sprites, yeah, exactly. Well, I was playing around with it, so I had it just kind of bursting up. But if you want to do, and I'll show you something pretty cool. So I'll take away these velocities because this one, for example, I don't need. So just hit delete, and I can unhide this one. If you go into physics, and let's set the gravity scale, we'll probably leave it at 1 because, you know, we want this to just kind of fall down. But check this out. So this location sphere, the location is how the place that spawns the particle, how the shape of the place that spawns the particle is. So in our case, the shape that spawns this particle is a sphere. If you look at it, you'll see that it's, you know, kind of round, right? So if we want to have this come out of a spigot hose, you know, or like you know, out of um, a hydrant, you know, this would probably work. But if we want this to have, like you were saying, a waterfall, let's try something else besides a sphere. So we'll uncheck that, and we'll add a feature, location, and we'll use a box for this one. Let's try using a box. What you can do with a box is you can set dimensions. So what we want to have is, in our x-axis, we want this to be maybe 10 meters long, right? And then in our y direction, we maybe want it to have maybe about 2 meters wide. So now, if we do the spawn rate a little bit higher, so maybe call it 1,000, we have something that looks, a little bit more as like a waterfall, right? Even though it's not perfect, um, it's just about that. You have to be careful what, the texture they use. That's very important. For example, this probably might be good for, for where the waterfall, the splash. So the splash of the waterfall. So when it comes down, maybe instead of it just keep on falling because it impacts the ground, we may want to have this as a negative, so zero point 0.2. So it kind of just, splashes up a little bit. That's a little bit too much. That's kind of weird though. Let's see. We don't want it to go up. 0.2. We just want it to fall down, and what we can do, because I made this particle also, let's make this field a little small. This is kind of a big splash. So let's do the box to be with a 1 and maybe a 4 or 3. Let's do a 3. So there we go. And there are probably a little bit too many particles spawned right now. So let's go back to 200. And so there we go. That looks a little bit more kind of close to reality, sort of thing. Maybe we can go a little lower, even 50. All right, there we go. So that's our splash, and we'll bring in the other effect that I originally had for this. I can't remember which one it was. Hopefully, is it this one? Oh, maybe it's this one. So there we go. Let's twist this around. That's kind of weird. We want to go 180. So there you go. This is also a particle effect. So we have a couple of things here. You move some of these rocks around here. It kind of looks like a kind of a river type thing. Not too shabby, I would say. And it's all done with particles, which was pretty darn simple. So yeah, that's pretty much the way to add by using the appearance material. Add a material to it. So one thing to note, and you need to be careful about this, is that a lot of the textures that you want to create for a particle, you don't want to have just one image on them. So for example, yeah, particle systems are cool. So for example, in our case, the spec water material, so let's go and take a quick peek at it. As you can see, it's split into 4. There's some of these guys that, for example, it only has 1, but let's look at this flamethrower. This one has, by the way, it looks 7 by 7. So in order to, and this has been very kind of twitchy when it comes to selecting one of these materials, and I'm not entirely sure why. It might be the preview window that's messing up. I don't really know, but yeah, it just crashes Sandbox. But let me show you what I meant. Let's just open open particle test. Okay, so yeah, see, that's one of the bad things when this thing crashes, that you lose everything. And I haven't set it up so that it would save them, but hopefully you got saving at a specific interval. Hopefully you got how those were made. But let's go back into our particles examples. Not examples, sorry, it's levels. Yeah, they're especially with this new particle system, it's still probably being worked on. So hopefully there'll be some more improvements to come. And let's see, where was this? Okay, there we go. So as you remember, I'm just gonna go into this. I'm not gonna select another one because apparently it doesn't really like that. So as you can see, this one has four. So this probably is this one's the alpha and this one's the original texture. So as you can see, it has four opportunities or four different textures for you to use. So in order to do that, if you go, you have to add this appearance texture tiling. Again, just right click, add feature, appearance texture tiling. So in texture tiling, you'll see that it specifies, okay, you have this texture of maybe flames, and you have 5 by 5 different little flame images on that. So you want to set that tile X, tile Y to be 5 by 5. Apparently this tile count doesn't really matter, but you want to set I normally set the variant mode to random, so it picks up the random um, tiles in that texture. And yeah, you have to be careful with that because, for example, let's bring this one in, right? So actually that's not the best idea. Let's bring the other one, which was the river. So, and delete the water flow, whatever that thing was. Alright, so if we were to look into this, right, which is our particle 2, and let's see, what's the name of it? Particle 2. Alright, so if we look at this, and we look at texture tiling, as I was saying, this is it was that 2 by 2 image, right? So if I don't set this up correctly, and I set it to 1 by 1, see, that's what happens. It's just doing the same, or actually it's not even doing the same, it's doing the whole texture. And let's just slow this down so you can see a little better. Let's do a spawn rate of just 1. So look at that, it's just the same texture over and over again. Alright, so you don't get to utilize the different ones in it. But if I was to go back into texture tiling and set this back to 2 on 2, see, then you have this one, then this one, which is slightly different, and so you're using each one of them in the proper way. Also, if you go higher, so if it's going to be like 3 by 3, you can see that it gets cut off. So you can see these hard edges, where the whenever the specific texture got processed, just cut it off because there's nothing there. So or it just got since it's looking for 3 by 3 tiles, it's trying to break that up into 3 by 3 tiles, which is it's going to leave these gaps in between, or these hard lines, or weird places where it cuts it. So hopefully that gave you a little bit of idea of how you'd be able to create an actual particle effect, and not just the little fun lights and your real rectangle just moving across the screen. Alright, so with that being said, that's pretty much everything that I wanted to cover today on this stream. And um, without that hiccup in the beginning where the microphone wasn't working, hopefully you guys got something out of it. And we'll see, hopefully for next week. If you guys have any ideas, please feel free to suggest them, message me, whatever. And yeah, I think so too, Danny. And I'll try and look into it if I don't know it already. And yeah, we'll see you next week. I'll also think of stuff to show. We'll see. hopefully I can come up with something new. That's the whole thing about you know, doing these streams, that you know, you don't want to keep on doing. Yeah, there you go. Well, so it's actually just one single texture that has little. It's split up into it's kind of a grid, or you can call it an atlas. So it's split up into a, you know, 8 by 8, 4 by 4, whatever you want to have it. So for particles, it's perfect, you know, because you don't want to. You want a variety, but you don't want a huge texture to load into that particle effect. Right, exactly, exactly. All right, so with that being said, thank you guys so much for stopping by. And like I said, if you have any suggestions for next week, feel free to let me know. That will give me some ideas. You know, maybe uh, you know, if it's about modeling, we'll look into modeling. But yeah, I'd like to do something more engine related, and hopefully we'll go over that, because you know, modeling, you can find a ton of videos on the internet, and that's always easy to find. All right, again, thank you guys for stopping by. Hopefully you have a great Sunday, whatever's worth left of it, and we'll see you next week. All right, take care, everyone. Bye.